We're just 2 weeks away from the Irish Champion Stakes, a race that has really established itself as one of the world's best in recent years. Group 1 winners galore in contention to run at this stage, and there is plenty of potential runners, and we're going to try and sift through those that will run, those that won't run. Is there any value in the market? As we usually do when we look forward to the big Group 1s here on Racers Now. 7 of the top 8 in the betting are Group 1 winners, but it's the current favourite at 7-4 favourite that is the odd one out, i.e. Economics, favourite for the race, is yet to win at the top level, although this will be his first try at the top level, to be fair. I think Economics is top class, and I think he will prove to be so. The way that William Haggis has campaigned this horse may have left fans like me wanting more in the height of the summer, but he avoided the temptation of running in the Derby and other big Group 1s with this raw, still maturing bundle of talent. Now, you might dismiss that as trainers playing it, very, very cool and safe and not running their horses, but really I think has already been proven a little bit to be the right strategy from the Haggis team. I mean, this Economics absolutely wazzed in the Dante, the most impressive Dante winner I've seen probably ever in my time of 14 or 15 years. He won by 6 lengths, completely dismissed the field. And remember, he wasn't exactly a hot favourite for the Dante. He'd only won his novice race at Newbury a few weeks prior to that. He didn't go into the Dante as a top juvenile from last year with a big reputation, as we have seen before. He went there, he won by 6 lengths. So very, very impressive. And to take the bold move, it was a little bit brave to skip the Derby. Remember, at the turn of the year, Economics was entered in the Derby. He was put in as a yearling or a juvenile, whatever. And the team decided to take him out of the Derby to avoid the temptation. They still ran in the Dante. He won that very easily, as we've said. And then they said pretty much straight away that they was going to skip the Derby. And they stuck to it. And that speaks volumes, really, to me, the way that the Haggis team, have since pretty early this year, thought and still think that they've got a right weapon on their hands in the guise of this Economics, and they could well be proven right in the next couple of months, and hopefully next year as well. The way he's been campaigned this year, you would think that he probably will come back as a 4-year-old as well. So a 91-day break is what he had after the Dante, and he was back at Deauville for the Group 2 they have there called the Guillaume d'Orno or something along those lines. Usually a really popular and top quality race that the French trainers tend to prep their 3-year-olds in ahead of the Arc. And actually, last year's Arc winner, Ace Impact, won this race at Deauville, the one that Economics won on his comeback. And actually, Economics went some way to prove that the worth was the weight was worth it, should I say. He beat the 116 rated and Royal Ascot winner JRB by an impressive 2 lengths. They were upwards of 10 lengths between those two horses as they turned the bend. JRB was near the front, Economics was near the back, and he closed that gap in the straight in impressive fashion. 2 lengths clear at the line. They were miles clear of the rest. I think the third was another 6 lengths further back. Really, really impressive. Great to see him back. Whetted the appetite for what's more to come. And you would have thought that they wouldn't have had him fully tuned up for that. And there is more improvement to come. I immediately thought after that French Deauville Group 2, the Economics had Arc written all over him. But he's got Bahraini owners, and they are coming to the Bahraini-sponsored Irish Champion Stakes. And you can't blame them. But I do think he probably is the most exciting horse in training. Yes, there is an element of because he's, unexposed and yet to try over Group 1. But I really, really like him. I'm looking forward to seeing Economics wherever he turns up next. To be honest, I think he could still be an Arc horse. There's no reason why any horse can't run in the Irish Champion, win, lose or draw, and still run in races like the Arc. There's no reason at all. There's a good, 3 or 4 weeks between those races. But Economics, we can talk about him all we want. We can call him the 7-4 favourite, but he has a very large task to overcome here. And that task is mainly going to be from the Ballydoyle boys, as usual. My friend SD will tell you that racing is not a team sport and we don't need things like the Racing League or the Shergar Cup. Well, we have team racing anyway, SD. That's the bad news for you. And that is the Ballydoyle team, the Ballydoyle boys. They absolutely dominated this race, the Irish Champions Stakes, last year with team tactics. Embarrassing 1 or 2 British jockeys along the way in the process, in my opinion. Go back and watch that race. Aidan's team just dominated it with, I think, Ryan, Shamey. They just dominated the race, and I think there's potential for them to do that again in this race, as we're going to come on to. They could do that to economics, not in a skullduggery type way, or not in an underhand type way. Just that they can control the race, they can control the pace, they can make horses have to go round them. They're going to have at least 3 runners. They've got all sorts of other horses that they could chuck in as pacemakers as well. They could well have 4 or 5 runners in this Ballydoyle, as we've seen before. So it's going to be really interesting from a tactical point of view. I mean, look what they potentially line up this year. Auguste Rodin is second in the market. He won the Irish champion in 2023. Luxembourg is 5th or 6th in the market. He won the Irish champion in 2022. And then Los Angeles is also in there, and he's about 6 to 1, second or third favourite. He won the Irish Derby this year, and most recently the Voltigeur as well. And they think that he is going to be arc bound. More of him in a couple of minutes. So there's them 3 horses that are proper contenders for this race. Then there's a whole host of pacemakers or blockers could be thrown in. Some of the also rans at the Ballydoyle HQ. So economics will have to be good to win this. Make no mistake. I hope he is good enough to overcome this unique test of one man against a whole team on away soil, etc., etc. He's very, very exciting, and I hope he proves himself again. It'll be interesting actually to see the Ballydoyle jockey lineup, because Wayne Lorden is set to go over to Doncaster to ride Illinois in the St. Leger, which happens on the same day. Ryan will probably ride Auguste Rodin, you'd have thought. So there'll be some nice spare rides to pick up on the likes of Los Angeles and Luxembourg, and probably a pacemaker as well. So it'll be really interesting as to what happens to Ballydoyle jockey bookings the whole weekend, really, because the similar is going to happen at Doncaster, where they're going to have 2 or 3 runners there and only one of their recognised jockeys there in Wayne Lorden. So really interesting. As we already know about Auguste Rodin, he's a very good horse, but he's definitely in and out. I mean, his form this year is 12th, 2nd, 1st, and 5th. He was 5 on all 4 of those starts, and that's kind of what happened in his career so far. He bombed out in the Guineas, he won the Derby, he bombed out in the King George, then he won the Irish Champion. That was last year. Clearly very, very talented, but somewhat unreliable, particularly in relation to the price that he often goes off in these races. He needs quick ground. He has to have quick ground to be seen at his best, Auguste Rodin. And there was a rare Aidan O'Brien negative public statement given in the wake of his King George effort last time, where he was 5th. He went off favourite again. He was no way near winning. The ground officially that day, on July the 27th, was called good to firm, but Aidan O'Brien called it good to soft in places, and quote, no way near good to firm anywhere. That's his direct quote. So it's not very often you see Aidan O'Brien in public basically having public disagreements with racing authorities or other people within racing trainers and clerks of the course. So yeah, that was quite interesting. But he was adamant that when they walked the course, they knew they were in trouble, but they ran anyway. So that's up to them. They didn't have to run. And Auguste Rodin, for the 2nd year running in the King George, ran very, very poorly. Luxembourg also wants quicker ground and also ran poorly in that King George alongside Auguste Rodin. He isn't as good as he used to be, and he's clearly further down the pecking order nowadays, this Luxembourg. Although I do like him as a horse, this looks a very hot renewal, and he has slid down the pecking order generally. That's why he's 16 to 1. Los Angeles is the other main contender from the Aidan O'Brien yard. And for me, he should be running in the St. Leger on the same day. He looks all over a St. Leger horse to me. He looks slow as a boat. And has done for some time. I thought he looked slow in the English Derby. I thought he looked pretty slow in the Irish Derby. Yes, he did win it. And I just think he looks like a galloper. He ran in the Voltigeur. There was 5 runners. 3 of them were Aidan O'Brien trained. It looked like a team sport once again there. I don't know why he's dropping down in trip for the Irish champion. I just don't get it. He won the Chief St. Leger trial at York, the Voltigeur, recognised St. Leger trial, and to drop down from there just doesn't make all that sense to me. And it must be said, who else really would get away with using the Irish Champion Stakes as a public prep run for the Orc? I mean, yes, there's quite a few horses, some French ones indeed, have ran in the Irish Champion with a view to peaking, or the main aim of the season being the Orc. But do they say it so publicly? I mean, statements after the Voltigeur from O'Brien along the lines of, well, we might drop him down in trip to the Irish Champion. He might run 3rd or 4th as a prep run for the Orc. I mean, he could run in the St. Leger on the same day. as a prep for the Arc. They've done that a few times. He could run in an Arc trial on the 15th of September, the very next day, as a prep for the Arc. But no, they're dropping down to the flagship race by many people's measurements, the flagship race of Irish racing whole season, dropping down in trip to publicly state that they can see him running third or fourth as a prep for the Arc. It doesn't quite sit right with me, and I don't like it. Other people might disagree and just think, oh, get on with it. If they want to run, then fair enough. It doesn't quite sit right with me the way it's been played out. Los Angeles won the Irish Derby, and to everyone, including me, as I've already said, it looked all over a St. Leger horse, a plodder, slow as a boat. And then they come out and saying, well, we thought he was a St. Leger horse, but now we think that he's classier than that. He's classier than the St. Leger. The St. Leger is a Group 1 race, classic, worth £700,000 in the prize pot. And they think he's classier than that. I think that's quite disparaging to the St. Leger. It's all a bit strange to me. It's all a bit strange. I don't quite get it. I don't know who's going to ride him. I don't think he's a pacemaker type angle to him. We've seen some very, very good horses sacrificed for Ballydoyle pacemaker duties in the past. But I just don't know. I just don't know what's going to happen with Los Angeles. He's just going to plod along. They say he's going to be an Arc horse. He might well be an Arc horse, but you can be both. You can be a St. Leger and an Arc horse. Just as leading light, continuous. Kew Gardens, Capri. I think they all won the St. Leger, and then ran in the Arc. I just don't get it. Don't get what they're doing with Los Angeles. Anyway, there's other Aidan O'Brien horses in there. The likes of Opera Singer, Continuous, Henry Longfellow, and Diego Velasquez are all talented in their own right. They're all entered at this stage, but unlikely to run at the moment. But they're in there. They're in the bet. The most interesting horse, away from those that we've already mentioned, has to be White Birch, a horse talked about very much since his his maiden Group 1 victory in the Tats Gold Cup at the Curragh in May. He beat August Rodin fair and square that day. There was a bit of a rainfall before the race, so that might have blunted August Rodin, but he ran his race. He finished second, and White Birch battered him, to be honest, and it was really, really impressive, and he was a new star for the season. White Birch ran in things like the Derby last year, didn't really kick on, but clearly over the winter, coming into his 4-year-old campaign, had really blossomed, and he stamped his mark, if you like, on the British and Irish racing scene with that Group 1 win. But unfortunately, we've not seen him since. That was over 100 days ago now, and we've not seen him since. He's had unsatisfactory blood tests multiple times. They were to blame. He was entered in the Prince of Wales's at Royal Ascot, didn't run. Then the Eclipse didn't run. Then there was talk about the Juddmonte, but that was ruled out pretty early. So it's been a familiar and repetitive story for White Birch this year. I'm absolutely desperate, as many fans are, to see White Birch back on the track. He was so impressive in that win at the Curragh in May, but we've just not been able to get him back. He would have provided such a different flavour, really. I mean, really, how many racing fans could name Group 1 standard or Group 1 winning horses that aren't trained by Aidan O'Brien that are trained in Ireland? Not many. White Birch is one of them. It would be great it would be really, really good to get him back. But he cannot be relied on from an anti-post betting viewpoint. Clearly, he can't, because he just has shown a record this season of not turning up in those Group 1s. Connections say that he doesn't have to have soft ground, and he would go on all ground. They've said that all year because it was fast coming up to Royal Ascot and potentially Sandown. But I disagree with that. I think he does need a bit of give underfoot. Not heavy, not really, really soft, but he does need a bit of give underfoot, like he had at the Curragh in May, to be seen at his best. I think he might well get that in mid-September as well. So let's hope that we see White Birch fit and ready to go, and it would bring a different element to the race in terms of connections, form lines. Fingers crossed for him. British contenders at this stage could and probably will be represented by Anmat and Ghostwriter. There are others, but much bigger prices and unlikely to run. Anmat is dangerous if they keep him fit. He's a dangerous horse, but Owen Burrows, from probably no fault of his own, they just can't get him fit. I mean, this horse won a Group 1 winner in France in May 2023, has only ran once since then. That was a neck win at Haydock just last month in a Group 3. You'd expect him to come on for that. He'd been off well over a year. And if indeed they can keep him fit, he's a contender in races like this. And Matt's probably not going to win an Irish champion, but you could see him, running in this, might run in the Arc. He might run on Champions Day at Ascot. So he's dangerous if they can keep him fit, and hopefully they can. Ghostwriter is the other one who ran really well behind City of Troy in the Juddmonte at York. And that was the first time that he'd had 10 furlongs and fast ground. That's what he needs. That's what's ideal for him, and he ran well. Would he get close to winning this? Probably not. He could pick up a couple of pieces, maybe in the place markets. Although, word of warning on Ghostwriter, his best performances have been when he's been prominently ridden near the front. And that racing style would put him right in the firing line of the Ballydoyle boys and the team tactics. They're likely to have one or two possibly pacemakers. If Ghostwriter gets into a battle there, yes, he could upset the Aidan O'Brien horses that are at the front, but they're not there to win anyway. And it would definitely be of detriment to Ghostwriter's chances, you would have thought. But it is really a truly fascinating race if most or all of them that I've mentioned turn up. Just as a quick conclusion, economics has a lot to overcome in terms of team tactics, particularly as he races from off the pace usually. This is his first ever Group 1. I kind of hope economic wins just to bring something new to the table. We've not seen him all season. He could clash with City of Troy, possibly in another race later in the season. They would be the 2-3-year-old stars going at each other. I hope economics wins, but I think it's going to be difficult for him. And I think that 7-4 could well drift given the team tactics and the makeup of the race. August Rodin is good, but clearly unreliable in relation to what price he usually goes off in races. Clearly he won this last year. White Birch would be right up there and it's a big if turning up fit and ready to go. Fingers crossed he does get there. Is there a bet at this stage for me? No, is the answer. We might have got 16 minutes into this video, but it's a great race to look forward to. Is there a bet for me? No. I'd be looking to take on economics if he's around 6-4 on the day for reasons given, and I really hope that White Birch runs. But I absolutely cannot wait, and this is a cracker to look forward to at Leopardstown on the 14th of September, the Irish Champion Stakes.